Soldier Vermilov Alexander Vladimirovich, 3rd Assault Brigade. I volunteered on February 24th, 2022, when full-scale hostilities began across the entire territory of Ukraine. I was living and working in Kyiv. When the war started, I volunteered at the Military Enlistment Office and ended up in the 112th Territorial Defense Brigade of Kyiv. I served there for over a year. There was a conflict with the commander that wasn't resolved. I lost my temper, told the commander off, turned around and went back to civilian life. For half a year I was a civilian. In August 23, I was detained by the police and taken to the State Bureau of Investigation. From the State Bureau of Investigation, I was brought to the guardhouse in Kyiv, where I spent almost a year and a half. I tried to prove my innocence in court, but proving anything in our courts is a lost cause. I was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. I was taken to the Lukyanivska pre-trial detention center in Kyiv, then to the Kharkiv pre-trial detention center, and from there to the Timonivska correctional colony number 100, where I was offered to return to service, since as a trained and experienced soldier, I was a priority. Was that right away? As soon as you arrived? Yes, on the very same day. As soon as I brought my things from the transfer, I hadn't even had time to put my things down. And right away, there was a conversation with the officer. Do you want to serve? Yes, I do. Well, I wasn't going to sit for 6.5 years for nothing. That's it, I ended up in the 3rd Assault Unit. Were there any other options? You mean like to another brigade? Yes, there were, but those were options that didn't suit me. I had the opportunity to join the 225th Regiment, which was taking part in combat operations in the Kursk region. I didn't see any reason to go to the Kursk region. That's not our land. So, there was also an option to join the 59th Brigade, but I didn't think it was necessary to go there either. The third one, I ultimately decided to join the 3rd Assault Unit since it was operating in the Kharkiv region and still is. That's my region, so I decided to go to the 3rd Assault Unit. 25 full days in comprehensive training, just like absolutely everyone else, without exception. After that, arrival at the permanent deployment point, and from there to the combat zone. I had to serve a year as part of Shkval. Shkval is a unit that recruits people who are conditionally early released convicts who have expressed a desire to fight. And after serving a year in Shkval, that conviction would have been expunged. At the moment, it has not been expunged. I was wounded, hit by shrapnel from a Mavic drone in 3 places: my arm, my leg, and my lower back. And I spent 5 days at the positions. There was no possibility to evacuate. I got permission from the command to leave the sector on my own. I was no longer combat ready. I simply couldn't fight anymore, obviously, with only one working arm. I set out to leave the sector on my own, but the sector was surrounded on all 4 sides. I tried to get out along a narrow road, which ran through a tree line that was supposedly still under our control. And I ran into Russian soldiers who by that time were already there. They were literally 20, maybe 25 meters away from us. We didn't even know they were there. Naturally, I wouldn't have gone there if I had known, since I had no intention of surrendering. I was heading for evacuation so I could be taken to the hospital. I walked along the tree line, literally covered about 20 meters. At first I got a little lost. The tree line was already destroyed, burned, it was fragmented, but on the map in my phone it was marked as a continuous tree line. So I thought I had already crossed the tree line and needed to turn right. But in reality, I was still on the same section, the same stretch of the tree line. And I just needed to keep going straight ahead. But I turned right. And since I needed to get to a neighboring position, one I wasn't familiar with and hadn't been to before, at first I thought I was lost and had already reached our position. I said, "It's me, friendly." They said, "All right, friendly, we'll check now, put down your rifle." I had my rifle, my left arm was in a sling, and I was holding the rifle by the handguard with my right hand. So I couldn't fire, return fire, or engage in combat. Well, I noticed some were dressed in multicam, some in pixel camouflage, and I started to suspect they weren't ours. I thought I should shoot myself, because otherwise they'll torture me, cut me up, all that. But then I thought, what if they are ours? And I end up shooting myself for nothing. So in the end, I decided to put the rifle down just in case, maybe I'd get lucky. I put the rifle down and they put me on the ground. I said, "Guys, I'm wounded." I said, "I can't lie on my arm." They didn't make me lie on that arm, nothing like that. They didn't shout at all, didn't even insult me. They just said, lie still, don't move, you'll live. I said, give me your word that you won't just shoot me in the back of the head like a dog if it comes to that. Yes, we give you our word, that's it. That's it, they took my rifle. I said, are you Russians from Russia? They said, yes. So I said, good morning. They didn't torture me, didn't beat me. I was even surprised. They were just normal guys, really, not bloodthirsty or anything. They made some tea, shared their food with me, even though they didn't have much themselves. We sat down and ate together. They said, calm down, we have kids too, just like you. We want to live too, all that stuff, so, well, we won't kill you. That's it. And then they handed me over to the next position further on. From that position, I was moved to another one. Basically, we spent the whole day getting there. It was a long way. We walked for a really long time. By the time we finally arrived, they had fed me several times along the way, bandaged me up, and gave me medical assistance. When we got there, they let me wash up, gave me new clothes, because after a month, the old ones were completely worn out. Again, they rebandaged me and took care of everything. No one ever insulted me, not even once. No one even laid a finger on me. Well, I'm just telling it like it is. And that's all. And now the relationship is normal. I'm sitting here with you talking. Basically, well, everything's fine. Everything is just even. Everything as it is. Did you see the bodies of the dead? Of course, there were more than enough of them. Do you truly desire to be exchanged, to be returned to your homeland? If my own country, the nation I serve, does not perceive my capture as an act of betrayal, a profound disloyalty to our cause, and I am genuinely uncertain if they will indeed view it as such a great betrayal, a stain upon my honor, then perhaps an exchange could be considered. The fact that I'm talking to you, that well, for saying everything as it is. My personal attitude toward the current government was quite negative, even long before I ultimately ended up serving in the 3rd Assault Brigade, or indeed, even joining the army at all. I absolutely do not support the current Zelensky's government. I never believed him from the start, well, because I'm a bit more educated than, let's say, most people. People believed in a fairy tale. From the very beginning, I understood that this was, of course, just another Yanukovych, Yakubovich, and so on. I don't believe anyone anymore, that's it. I didn't vote for him, and now I don't support this person. To truly influence President Zelensky, well, at this present moment, it appears quite clearly that society is simply not yet ready. If there isn't a third significant Maidan, for an individual person to somehow properly arrange their personal life or not, the European Union is absolutely not needed. All of this terrible, ongoing crap truly needs to come to a definitive end. I genuinely and sincerely wish that this devastating war would finally end. I want to come home alive, hopefully healthy, and just continue living in peace. That's all. I don't want any more. I don't want children to die. I don't want to watch on TV that somewhere yet another child who was playing in a sandbox has died. That's what I don't want. Yes, I don't want Zelensky to give our land to the Americans. So when the next elections come, I advise the people to think very carefully, 10 times over, about who they're going to check the box for, and not sell themselves for a kilogram of buckwheat.